Hello, and welcome to Intro to Asian Religions. It's going to be taught at Youngstown State University in the fall of 2021. I am Dr. Ulrey, so you'll be looking at me a lot in this semester. And what I want to do today is a very professory thing and just kind of read through the syllabus. I want you to kind of get used to hearing my voice. You're going to be hearing a lot of it. And also, I like to be able to go through the syllabus like I would in an in-person class. And I'm always trying to make my online classes as similar to in-person classes as possible. You also get the chance to see the contrast of what I look like here as opposed to when I recorded the videos a year ago. I always change my appearance a lot, which is, fun for me, but it's a little jarring sometimes to students. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen right now, which always takes a little bit of a second. Here comes the Asian religion syllabus. And like I said, I'm just going to read through it and tell you some of my ideas and why I do the things I do. I want you to understand that every time I give you an assignment or I do a lecture in a particular way, I do that in such a way so that it fulfills certain pedagogical needs. I have a reason behind everything I do. A lot of professors say they do that, but I do have a background in education. I did my undergraduate in education. I've taught quite a bit over the years. So there is a method to my apparent madness, I promise you. So this syllabus is tentative, and I want you to defer to Blackboard modules and calendar dates. That means, if I change readings or I change assignments, they'll be all reflected on Blackboard. So on your learning management system, which is Blackboard at YSU, just pay attention to that. Pay attention to the modules as they are there, and pay attention to the calendar, because while you'll be looking and trying to figure out what's due at what date, if you just look at the modules and the assignments of the modules and the due dates there, it will not steer you wrong, and it'll be easier than trying to keep it all straight in your head. So the class is 2601. This is the wrong class again. I don't know why it keeps doing this to me. Here it is. It's 2617, Introduction to Asian Religions. Let's see if we can make that look a little nicer. Nope. Let's keep it like it was. All right. So this is an online class. Now, I am Dr. Ulrey. I want you to call me Dr. Ulrey or Professor Ulrey. Don't call me Mr. Ulrey, because I'm not a high school teacher. Why do I insist on students calling me doctor or professor? Well, it's not because I particularly like being called doctor or professor, but it's because it sets a certain tone that is important for us to have in our course. Furthermore, and this is really the big deal, because I used to just let the students call me whatever, a lot of women and scholars of color have a great difficulty getting their students to be more formal and sort of recognize their titles. So in solidarity with my people, the other professors, I insist that you call me professor or doctor. If you're talking to a professor, you should always use the term professor and then use their last name unless they tell you otherwise. Some professors may not be doctors, so you don't have to always say doctor somebody. Just go with professor somebody. Professor Smith, Professor Doniger, Professor White, whatever. Go with professor. It'll set a nice tone, and you'll find that it'll be useful. I do try to build some of this professionalization sort of stuff into my courses. Our classes are asynchronous. So that means your classes are going to be live, and you'll be able to do them on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then you'll have deadlines on Fridays and Sundays at 2 p.m. Now, the due dates are subject to change, but know that I'm trying to give you the most amount of time at any given lesson to complete them. So you might ask, why Monday and Wednesday? I think Monday and Wednesdays are good times for classes. I will usually try to get the courses up Sunday, but you can just plan on, watching the lecture on Monday, watching the lecture on Wednesday, do the reading over the weekend, you'll be ready for it. One other thing, students continually complain to me that having a due date at Friday at 2 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. is bad for them, and they wish it was Friday at 11:59 at night and Sunday at 11:59 at night. Well, that doesn't work for me. I give you that 2 p.m. time so I can start grading at noon my time. I'm in Denver. I live in Denver. I'm on Mountain Time. I'm 2 hours behind you. So if you really are bothered by the 2 p.m. due dates, I'm more than happy to change it to Thursday at midnight, or at midnight at 11:59, or Saturday at 11:59. I think you'll prefer having those extra 14 hours that I give you. All right, my professors, I am Professor Aaron Michael Ulrey. That is my name. My pronouns are he and him. I don't have an office on campus. I live in Denver, but you can get in touch with me very easily. And if you need to schedule a Zoom meeting, I'm more than happy to do that with you, or even a phone call, whatever you need. I am here for you. So how do you contact me? Well, I have my YSU email up there, amullery@ysu.edu. Now, I check my email for 1 hour every day, and I'd like you to compose. So I'll get back to you within 24 hours usually, but I only check it for 1 hour a day. Otherwise, it gets to be too much for me. I'd like you to compose your emails in formal English and strive toward professionalism in all correspondence with me and other students. An undergraduate degree is an exercise in professionalization and becoming professionals in everything you do. So strive toward having professional communication in all your courses. University policies, including COVID statements, can be found at this link here. So university policies, including COVID stuff, accessibility and non-discrimination, academic integrity, and more can be found on the YSU webpage. While these policies may be discussed in many of your classes, they do change from semester to semester. So it's up for you to understand the university policies and to apply them. So what is our course? Let's get to the meat of it. What is this course we're taking? Well, Asia, and Asian religions for that matter, is hard to describe. Once it was called the Orient. And that's interesting because Orient means a term where the sun rises, i.e. you orient yourself by looking to the east. The sun rises in the east. So really when you hear the word Orient, it doesn't necessarily mean the eastern direction, but the spot where the sun rises. I've always found that really interesting. But east can be different depending on where one orients oneself or herself. And we ought now to reorient ourselves often. So reorienting ourselves to the world. Perhaps Asia is the land of enlightenment, self-discovery, or a primal authenticity of the great true religions out there. And a lot of Westerners think that. Perhaps Asia is thought of as an economic powerhouse, home to innumerable humans, the land of bustling villages and giant cities. And what we're really going to be looking at is 3 geographic regions. There will be India and South Asia in general, including Pakistan, Bangladesh, Ceylon, Sri Lanka. And we'll be looking at Tibet, so Central Asia, and we'll be looking at China. We won't be doing anything with Japan just because I can't do it all. I would like to have more about Southeast Asia, but I've already jammed enough into this course, as you will see. In reality, Asia is a collection of diverse cultures and people who sometimes overlap and often do not. Sorry. Yes, Asia has a dynamic and incredible history that Westerners have mostly ignored. While its religious doctrines like rebirth and karma are often described, rarely are explored the details of religious places, lives, and cultures. So we're not just going to do doctrine in this class. We're really going to talk about rituals and lived practices, notions of identity, what people actually do, not what they think or what they know. Introduction to Asian Religions surveys Asian religions and Asian religious cultures in India for the first 8 weeks. And actually, it's more like the first 11 weeks. And the second portion of the class will describe those Indic origin religions in Tibet, China, and Southeast Asia, with an emphasis on regional cultures and adaptations of Indic religions to non-Indian locations. The last 4 weeks of the class moves across regions and religions to ask larger questions in the study of Asian religions and religious studies. India, in fact, is the birthplace of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, and Indian Islam is a unique iteration, equally Indian and Muslim. As such, we will begin our course on the Indian religions in Indic contexts, studying both doctrines and case studies of these religions in history and on the ground. The second part of the course will describe the Buddhist cultures of Tibet and China, stressing the manner in which those Buddhist cultures set down roots, becoming religions with roots in Indic traditions, but becoming thoroughly of their very place. Overall, emphasis will be placed on identity, ritual, art, magic, and worship, as opposed to specific doctrines, truth claims, and articles of faith, which means we're going to look at what people do, not what they believe. So I'm going to give you 5 main religions. You're going to look at Hinduism. It's various versions of Hinduism, mostly in India, but Hinduism doesn't really get out of India. Then we're going to look at Buddhism, and then you're going to find that we do a lot of Buddhism in this class. Why? Because Buddhism is a religion with missionaries, religion that moves about. It's a religion that isn't tied to a geography in the same way that Hinduism is. Then we're going to look at Jainism, a religion very few people know about, that have monks that pluck out all of their hair and they practice an extreme form of nonviolence. I promise you, Jainism you will think is really cool. The students always do. Then we are going to do Sikhism, a sort of monist or monotheistic philosophy and religion. That is an offshoot of Hinduism in many ways, though is by no means identical to Hinduism in any way. We're also going to look at Indian Islam. Now, Islam in South Asia is not like Islam in the Middle East. And we're going to look at its very specific context. And Islam will look very different to you as you see it practiced in South Asia as opposed to what you see how it might be practiced in, say, the Middle East. All right, this course emphasizes the tremendous diversity found throughout Asian religions, and that diversity is found in Asian American and Asian immigrant communities throughout the United States. Students will acquire an understanding of customs, literatures, doctrines, and ritual practices that will encourage responsible and rewarding multicultural encounters and conversations. I know y'all have had a whole bunch of classes on diversity and multiculturalism, but what better class than a religious studies course in which we look at the multiple worldviews from many different religions and geographies? That is a way to really understand the diversity and multiple cultures that you find in this huge region called Asia. While this is an asynchronous online course and students can progress at their own rate, regular assignments and discussion forums will have deadlines, and students must fulfill these deadlines in order to maintain the learning community and to get the most out of the class. If you get behind, you will get steamrolled and have little chance of keeping up. This is to say, and I'll say this over and over again, it's not hard to get a good grade in this class if you do all the work. If you don't do the work, you will get a bad grade. That's just how it goes. This is not a hard class per se. However, if you get behind, it's hard to get caught up. So I want you to really be focused and not miss assignments, because if you start missing assignments, it's hard to pull up. If you start missing assignments, contact me immediately about how to get yourself right on track. I want you to do well, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you do well, but you really just have to do the work. There's no big exams. You have a bunch of writing assignments and discussion boards. If you do all of them and do the research paper, you'll do fine. I'm sure you'll get quite a good grade. All right, what are some objectives for the course? Students will be able to articulate key doctrines, terms, and histories of Indic origin religions and their manifestation in South, Central, and East Asia. So what does that mean? You're going to see how these religions that get started in India, how they end up manifesting in India over time, and then all the way across to the rest of Asia. I had one professor, I remember him being asked one time, this was my first professor, Dr. John Grimes, and then the student in one of his courses said, "Why India? Why are you so obsessed with India?" And he made this point. He said, "Well, if you want to find gold, you go to Fort Knox." Fort Knox being the place where traditionally in Kentucky, they used to hold all the gold for the National Treasury of the United States. There's just a lot going on in India. Now, my expertise, in fact, is India. I lived in India for several years. I read Sanskrit, I speak Hindi, I also speak and read the Tibetan languages. However, my actual core specialty is in magic and what a lot of people would call black magic. So rituals that are used in an aggressive manner. I sometimes say it's like the books about these black magic rituals are like sort of they're like cookbooks for how to literally or figuratively screw your neighbor. So that's who I am. I'm a guy who studies ritual, and I'm very interested in the religions of Hinduism and Jainism are my main research interest. What else are you going to do? You're going to gain an awareness of the geographies of Asia. You're going to know about these countries and these regions because you're going to be looking at the religions that are there. You're going to articulate various modes of religion on the ground, so religion as they are practices for these Indic origin religions, noting overlaps and divergencies whenever possible. We're going to describe how Indic origin religions set down roots in cultures throughout Tibet, China, and Southeast Asia. We're going to articulate theoretical themes such as polytheism, religion on the ground, or religion as it is practiced, literary discourse versus vernacular discourse. What does it mean to read a scripture versus listen to what someone says about a religion? We're going to look at pragmatic ritual technologies, i.e. magic. What do I mean by that? Ritual techniques that cause pragmatic ends. So they do not save your soul or preserve your community in every way, but they do find your lost goat and heal your child's illness. The effects of colonialism we'll talk about throughout this. Now, remember that India was colonized starting in the 1600s by the British East India Company, and then in 1857, after a large mutiny, we see that the British East India Company was taken over by the Royal Crown. So Britain ruled India, and we're going to look at the effects of that. All right. We're also going to talk about religion in modernity. So what does it mean as we come into this modern contemporary world, and how are we religious in those times? You're going to locate contemporary themes or you're going to locate religious themes in contemporary cultures and politics. You're going to explore the diversity of cultures in Asia and their forms and formats in the United States among Asian Americans and immigrants from Asia. You're going to demonstrate key rhetorical strategies in writing, namely topic, thesis, topic sentence, introduction, body, and conclusion. You're going to assess evidence, choosing the most effective evidence for varied rhetorical tasks. You're going to become better writers. I have a background, I was an English teacher, I taught writing, composition throughout graduate school, and I have writing as a big component of all my classes. However, I'm not just going to say, all right, write. I'm going to give you instruction and practice different skills that'll make you better writers. I promise you, after writing with me in this class, you will be better writers throughout the rest of your career. Students regularly tell me that this happens. Sometimes it just happens through the various practices that we do. Sometimes it happens through the feedback we get and through our revision processes when we're writing our more formal papers. You are also going to write in multiple genres about the religions of Asia. All right, so what are our course materials? You have 3 books. So the first is by William Dalrymple. It's called 9 Lives in Search of the Sacred in Modern India. You'll love this book. It's a really fun journalistic book that's really well written about different Indian people practicing these religions in their daily lives in contemporary India. The other book we're going to use is edited by Donald Lopez, and it's called Religions of India in Practice. This is my favorite book about India. You'll find that there are a ton of readings in there, and we'll read a fair amount of the book, but each essay will be by a different expert, and they will give you a short introductory sort of essay about a specific topic. Then they'll give you a translation of a primary text. In this way, we get an introduction to a religion and to a religious group, and we also get to read actual scriptures, read interviews, ritual texts, and whatnot. Then you will also have a book by Vasudha Narayana called Hinduism. I'm going to give you a PDF scan of this. You'll need to purchase physical or e-copies of Lopez's edited book and Dalrymple's book. So you'll have some time to do that. And in advance, I will probably give you PDF scans for the first week or 2 out of Lopez, but then you got to buy the book. Reading note. There's quite a bit of reading for this course. Students should read with a purpose. Do not try to incorporate every bit of data in the reading, but focus on overall themes. I expect you to thoroughly read every word assigned. However, I also know that this is really difficult. So what I think you really need to do is I want you to read carefully anything you find interesting or that you might want to use in a paper, but that you look to the assignments and discussion boards and whatnot in order to see if you're going to use the content of the reading. Sorry, I had to check. I'm hoping Blackboard will call me. So what I want you to do is when you're going to start a lesson, look to see what the assignments are, and see if there are any particular things in the assignments that you're going to need to pull out of the reading. Then when you're doing the reading the first time, keep it in your head. Oh, I'm going to use this. I'm going to make a note of this because I'm going to use that in the assignment. This is what I mean by reading for a purpose. Now, do not get bogged down in learning all like the Sanskrit and Tibetan terms. Any words I want you absolutely to know, I'll mention in the lectures. You can work in groups to divide up the reading and teach one another. Maybe you get 3 people together, each person reads one thing, and then you call up or Zoom each other or meet for coffee or whatnot and teach each other the contents. That could be useful too. Some students find it easier or better to do the reading after they watch the lecture. I don't recommend this. The readings really prepare you for the lectures. That said, you do you, and whatever works to best assimilate the material is the best thing that you should do. You got to figure out where you're at. You should take notes. If it's helpful, you can print out the reading so that you can annotate. Personally, I can't read on a computer screen, so I print out everything. And oh yes, in addition to the text that you're going to have, I will be providing you with other like essays and scans of articles and whatnot for the reading. Students have noted that the reading is more extensive at the beginning of the course, and this is true. It's necessary that we sort of front load the course content, so there's a lot to get at the beginning. But once you've got that context together, the readings kind of get a little less complicated and they're easier to understand. So if you feel really lost in the reading, the first couple of weeks, just hang in there. You'll get there. It'll get easier, I promise. All the readings that are not found sort of in the texts of Narayana, Lopez, who's the editor, and Dalrymple, will be made available as PDF files on Blackboard. Excuse me. All right. So what do I mean by this? If there's not a reading that you see that's clearly in the textbooks, then it'll be a PDF file. And what I'll do is I'll designate that by the last name of the source author. So it'd be like White, then a page number. It'll all make sense because I'll put the PDF links on every module. Okay, so when writing about the assigned reading, I often shorten my presentation of those readings. For instance, if I'm looking at something from Religions of India in Practice, which is edited by Donald Lopez, I will just put like the author and then write RIP, Religions of India in Practice, and then give the pages. So one thing I want you to understand is that unless outside research is specified, all of the assignments should draw from in-class materials. If you just ignore in-class materials in favor of doing outside research and just Googling stuff away or using Wikipedia, your grade won't be as good. You are supposed to use the specific readings I assign to do the assignments. I don't want you to go out and try to find more information. Use what I assign to you. This course is designed for you to build specific skills based on the assigned reading. Students who consistently fail to use in-class readings will meet with a substantial grade reduction because you're not doing the assignment. The assignment is to do the specific reading and answer the assignments with those specific readings, which is why I don't want you out there digging around on the internet all the time. All right, assignments and assessment. The readings will support key themes in the lectures, but the lectures provide the full content for the course. Just watching the videos or just doing the reading is not sufficient. You got to really pay attention to the lectures. Other assignments described below will provide students opportunities to synthesize, analyze, and question course contents. Be sure to read group writing and short writing assignments carefully before writing, while writing, and before submitting your assignment. That's what I would say. Read with a purpose. So look to the module, and if I have a discussion, read the discussion board and read the short assignment and ask yourself, okay, I know what I'm going to have to do on this. When I go to do the reading, I want to look for the quotes or the passages that I'm going to need to do the assignment. Yes, the most heavily weighted categories on course rubrics, and I'll give you a rubric for absolutely every assignment, is did assignment, which means I want you to read the assignment very carefully and follow the instructions. I try to make the assignments as clear as possible so that if you go through and you carefully do exactly what I tell you, you're almost guaranteed a decent grade. All right, the majority of students' work is short writing assignments and discussions, though we will write a midterm final and a midterm and a final research paper. I'll talk to you more about that as we go along. In order to give students as many opportunities to score points, no, I'm not going to do final exams. Discussion boards will require students to prepare written posts and responses, but also to create videos and multimedia contents. Like I'll have you a couple of times, just make a meme. You'll have to make a meme to describe the course contents, and then you'll just write 100 pages or 100 pages. You write 100 words to describe that meme. Informal writing assignments will range from stuff like writing a letter to giving a movie pitch, or maybe writing up a fictional anthropology report. Or maybe you'll write an article for a local newspaper or a student newspaper about some of the course contents. Additionally, okay, you're going to write a 750 word midterm research paper, and then a 500 word final paper, each making use of in-class sources and external research topics. Students will have an opportunity for extra credit by attending philosophy and religions lectures, events, and I'll give you plenty of extra credit opportunities throughout. 60% of your grade, actually it's more like 70% of your grade, can be assured by satisfactory completions of all assignments. Note, I will be adapting my course as we progress to best fit students' needs. The class may differ from the syllabus, especially reading and assignments. Students should regularly check class modules, which are the actual requirements. Each week we'll have a short exit ticket, which is an assignment in which students will evaluate each week's course, respond to the course, and make suggestions. These exit tickets will not be an inconsiderable portion of your grade. They're easy points, and student responses will directly influence the course as it progresses. That is, if you give me a good suggestion that I think will be useful in your exit ticket, I'll probably integrate it into the course. I like to change my courses as I go on based on what the students want. Student participation in discussion forums and completing writing assignments will be the majority of the grade. I want to see you work, and I want to see you progress, and I want to see you process and think about the material. I am less interested in you memorizing dates and geographic regions, then I am interested in you understanding overall themes. All right, the tentative grade breakdown. Discussion forums and short writing assignments are 50% of the class. Exit tickets are 10% of the class. Midterm paper is 10%, and your final research paper is 30%. You may note the first one is 750 words, and the second one is 500 words. So you go from writing 3 pages to writing 2 pages, and you will find that the 2 pages are harder to write. You'll see why. I will alter the weight and point value for assessment and assignments as I see fit throughout the course. This course has quite a bit of work, but it's not a hard class. It really isn't. And many of the assignments are informal, and you'll be able to do them pretty quickly. I've never had a student who completed all the work earn a poor grade. Many students who've done good work, some who've done excellent work, but have missed a bunch of assignments have earned poor grades. So see the dates week by week and calendar breakdown below. All right, group writing and participation. Group writing activities will be assigned for most class days. These assignments are traditionally called discussion boards, but little discussion really happens there. I would like you to see these as group writing projects in which you're demonstrating your ideas and building upon the ideas of others. The style and register of these group writing projects is lower than the informal or formal writing assignments, but students should write full sentences expressing complete thoughts, use standard grammar, apply a spell checker, and be sure to read over your posts several times and edit before posting. You want to sound good because you're talking to your other classmates. You are not texting, but you are engaging in a thoughtful academic discussion. The tone should always be respectable and respectful and in line with the etiquette for an in-person class. Should the netiquette disintegrate, the professor will intervene. I try to not talk too much on these discussion boards. I want you to actually be writing to one another. And I find that to be the most valuable. Otherwise, you're just writing to me and I'm writing back to you, and you're not actually discussing with one another. So it's a group writing project. Students will typically write 1 post responding to the prompt and also write 2 responses to the other students. This is the basic task. The more engaged posting and responding, the higher the student will be graded. Quotes, citation, and clear engagement with course material will ensure higher marks, including parenthetical citation whenever possible, when you can, referring to the text. IG, White, 89, Stewart, 341. You put the last name in MLA, parenthetical citation. You put the last name of the author and their page number. The instructor will grade the discussion based on a rubric, which you will be given, which will be, I make the rubrics available for every assignment. Students will be assessed based on their posts and clear responses to other students. The instructor will not regularly comment. For too much instructor participation causes discussion boards to be merely a back and forth with the professor rather than a vibrant learning community. Rest assured, I will read everything you write. Short writing assignments. Group writing and discussion boards and the short writing assignments are the majority of class work. Short writing assignments often have a creative component, asking students to process material from the reading and the lectures and apply it to a more creative genre, like writing a letter, movie pitches, travel writing, and so forth. I said that above. Short writing assignments are creative. They are not as analytical as a research paper, but they are still formal. They are still formal and ought to use proper standard grammar and spelling with a clear voice. You hear me keep coming back to that because it's important, especially on an online class. Be sure to write multiple drafts, edit carefully, and use any grammar and spelling software you see fit. Successful short writing assignments will clearly make reference to course materials, show an application of that material to the genre, and demonstrate some interpretation or insight of course material. Students must write at least as many words as specified in the assignment. I'll give you a word count usually. Exit tickets will be written once a week. Students will get a full credit of 10 points merely by completing them with some degree of thoroughness. This is your chance to tell me what you like or don't like, what lectures work or don't work, what assignments and discussion boards are effective or ineffective, which readings were stimulating and which ones were boring. You can go ahead and tell me. These are easy points for you and they really help me. All right, on the midterm and final papers, students will write a 750-word midterm research paper and a 500-word final paper, each making use of internal and external research topics. You think I'm being redundant, but I want to get this all in here and make it clear to all of you and have it all set out. Students are encouraged to carry as much material as possible forward from the midterm into the final research paper. So what do I do here? You're going to write your 750-word research paper. Then for the final, you can use the same topic. You can use all of the research from that first paper, but you're going to put it into your second paper. However, I will expect you to have a different thesis. You have to make a new argument and add more sources. However, you're going to have to make that argument in a more condensed manner. All right. In this way, we're kind of building constantly throughout the course. Yes, students will be required to use in-class materials and to use a few out-of-class research materials. I'll tell you the exact amount of sources I want at the time. Discussion forums will be provided to support research and composition. So I'll have you do a whole bunch of stuff. Like I'll ask you 1 week to write your topic, the next to write your thesis, and I'll give you extensive feedback to fine-tune that. I want to support you to be as successful as possible. Attendance and makeup policy. This is an asynchronous course, so attendance will not be tracked in a traditional manner. You're responsible for fulfilling the assigned tasks before the deadline. That's it. Unsubmitted work will be graded at 0 at the time of grading. Do not get behind because it is hard to catch up. Communication with the professor is key. Extensions are decided on a case-to-case basis should a student contact the professor before the deadline passes. Okay, this is key. I am likely to give you an extension if you write to me before the deadline. Now, if you write to me on every assignment and ask for an extension, we'll have a problem and we'll talk about it at that time. But if you contact me before the deadline, I'll work something out with you. I want you to do well. And I understand that life is complicated. Okay. No extension will be granted if the professor is contacted after the deadline has passed. Seriously, the minute that you are under pressure and in danger of falling behind, contact me and make a plan for success. Keep in mind that Blackboard tracks and reports the number of times you access the software and the time engaged with the software. So I know how much time you've been on Blackboard at any given time. At the end of the course, and this is something I'm doing now, this is a new thing. When I calculate your final grades, I will drop your 4 lowest grades, including grades that are marked 0. I'm experimenting with this policy this semester. In effect, you can miss a full week of work without penalty. Don't plan on just missing 4 assignments. In my experience, once a student misses 1 assignment, they lose momentum and they start missing a lot of assignments. So just let that take a little pressure off of you and that I will throw out your 4 lowest assignments. Policy statement regarding plagiarism. Pay attention to this. All assignments submitted must represent a student's own work. Plagiarism is a serious offense and will be dealt with accordingly. If you use the words or ideas of others without proper citation of your source, you may be suspended or expelled from the university. I take this very seriously and I fail a bunch of students regularly, and I will, if I find the plagiarism to be egregious, I will pursue further disciplinary marks. You got to do your own work. If you're cheating and I catch you, there will be bad repercussions, and I will spare no time. I will spare a ton of time going after people on this. I take this very seriously, and if I suspect you have included any amount of material from uncredited sources, I will investigate vigorously. Just don't do it. One thing I can tell you where students get really screwed up is they copy and paste. Do not copy and paste. Just don't do it. Don't ever do any copy and pasting in any of your assignment. Copy and paste misuse is at the root of most, if not almost all, of inadvertent plagiarism. Do not mine internet sources for material in your assignments because you will copy and paste them improperly and it will be plagiarism. Anytime you use information from a web page or an online source or book, you must either quote it directly and cite it, or you must rewrite it and paraphrase it completely and also cite it. If you use anything that's not your own thoughts, you have to cite it. Any instance of plagiarism can amount to dramatic repercussions, not excluding failing the class and even expulsion from the university. I always prefer evidence and quotes from course materials rather than outside sources. So when possible, mine all of your quotes and your ideas out of the in-class reading, except in the rare occasion that I ask you to do outside research. I will enable anti-plagiarism software in all your assignments, which will check your work against other YSU students, student paper databases worldwide, and across public sites across the internet. Should the software flag student writing, I will initiate an investigation. Here is a quality mag library resource for avoiding plagiarism. I recommend you take a look at that. And you may also use a plagiarism checker that is found on the library website. Okay, also note, if you are a student with a documented disability and would like to discuss special academic accommodations, please contact me during my office hours or just whenever at the beginning of the course. If you're an ESL student, discuss this with me. If you do not self-advocate, I cannot help you. I take these accommodations very seriously and will do my best to help you. Understand that I understand the hardships of writing in a foreign language, since my own work involves learning numerous archaic Asian languages. With IEPs and whatever, let me know right away. I did a fair amount of time working in special ed, so I'm very much attuned to these sorts of ideas. I'm dyslexic myself. So I get it. I get where you're coming from, and I want to help you do well and accommodate you in any way I can. All right. Here's the week-to-week breakdown. I'm not going to read through all of this, but I'm just going to, quick go through this. You are going to see that I'll put all of these questions that accompany the readings on Blackboard. These are questions to guide you in reading. They're not assignments. You'll see them, and I've got an example of it here that I'll show it to you in just a second. You don't need to write out the answers to those and email them to me. Any assignment that you actually have for this class will be clearly labeled as an assignment on Blackboard. This will become really clear as you're going along. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about Hinduism, and we're going to go through a series of videos that I call the Big 25, which is me rambling about what is Hinduism. Now, for Module 2, we're going to keep doing Hinduism, and we're going to keep moving right along there. We're going to talk about Vedic Ritual, which is the earliest form of ritual and sacrifice found in India, found still practiced, but we're going to be looking at a lot of materials that date up to 1500 BCE, before the time of the Common Era. All right, then we are going to continue talking about Hinduism in Module 3 and go from everything from, we're going to talk about Hindu philosophies to different Hindu religious people. Next, we're going to do Buddhism, and we're going to talk about the 3 vehicles of Buddhism. We're going to be talking about some Buddhist Tantra, and we're going to talk about Buddhist magic. We're going to be talking about conflicts between Buddhist figures and Hindu figures. And then ultimately, we're going to talk about Buddhist places and sort of how Buddhism adapts to specific places, especially in India. Then we're going to do Jainism. Jainism, we're going to do for 2 weeks. We're going to do everything from the history of the founders of Jainism to some of like the really cool philosophies of Jainism. Then we're going to talk about the 2 main groups of Jain monastics, the Shvetambras and the Digambaras. The Shvetambras are the ones that go around covered in white cloth, and the Digambaras are the ones that go around totally naked, both of whom pluck out all the hair on their faces and their heads. What about the ladies? Well, we're going to get into that. What does it mean to be a woman and as a part of that type of religion? Finally, we're going to finish by talking about some Jain worship practice and some Jain notions of magic, which is going to be pretty cool. Then we're going to do Islam in South Asia. As I'd said, you might have some exposure to Islam, but this is going to look really different. So I'm going to tell you kind of in general about what is Islam, and then we're going to talk about how Islam was adapted and adapted itself to the Indian context. We're going to continue and talk about some Muslim communities. In particular, we're going to talk about one Muslim community that has been incredibly resistant to violence throughout Indian history. And finally, we're going to talk about some Indian saints. We're going to talk about Sufi, and we're going to talk about how Indian Muslim saints spread Islam. Then we're going to do Sikhism for another 2 weeks. We're going to do everything from what is Sikhism, what is the history of Sikhism, and the 10 gurus. And most of the students really like the Sikhism section because it's a religion that, just like, so most of these courses on Asian religions don't teach Jainism, don't teach Sikhism, and don't teach Islam in South Asia. I want you to have exposure to all of these things. So we're going to, with Sikhism, we're going to talk about the symbols of Sikhism. You may know Sikhs as being the men of them, keep their hair long and wear turbans, carry a knife, wear a special bangle, also wear a special type of undergarment. And these are called the 5 Ks. That are the symbols of Sikhism. And then we're going to talk about some of the tensions within the Sikh community as they reach into modernity. Now, we're moving on. And we are going to talk about Chinese religions. We're going to do everything from talking about city gods. We're going to talk about Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism, specifically Chinese Buddhism. And then we're going to do a really cool section on folk Buddhism, including a lot of stuff on ritual possession and divination. Finally, we're going to end with Tibetan Buddhism, which is another specialty of mine in the past. We're going to talk about Tibetan history. Then we're going to talk about the history of Tibetan monks and monasticism. And finally, we're going to talk about some really cool rituals, and we're going to end the class with a discussion of the Tibetan Book of the Dead and Tibetan techniques for mindful transference of consciousness at the time of death. And then we'll have our final paper due on the 15th. So that is the class. Sorry. I know I've given you a lot. There's a lot for you to chew on. You can take a look at the syllabus. I'm looking forward to it. This is a great class. I've taught a couple times at YSU. We get some great papers. We have some really good discussions, and we generally have a pretty good time in here. As per usual, I will express, as a lot of you will say, I wish we could do this class in person. Well, we're not doing it in person. I'm in Denver. You're in Ohio. But we're going to have a good time of it. And I just want you to, I want to say one more time, I am on your side. I want you to do well. I am your professor, but I am also somebody who really is interested in your success and your progress. And I want you to gain skills in this class that will be useful not only in your other courses, but skills that are important for being alive and living in the world we live in that is so hybrid, that is intersectional, that involves so many different religions and so many religious groups and so many people. So by taking this class, you will have an awareness of religious notions and religious lives that will enable you to have really good cross-cultural conversations with people who might not be the same as you, who might be very different from you. And I hope this class will be a way of us having a better, more tolerant, and more enjoyable culture in our work and our daily lives, in which we can really engage one another and learn from one another and experience the joys of all the kind of wild kookiness that comes out of religion. So welcome to Religious Studies. Welcome to Intro to Asian Religions. I look forward to having you in my class. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.